Phil Barnes co-drives with Bob Skelton. John French, backup driver to Moffat. Fred Gibson in the third Works Falcon. Gold Star champion Leo Gagan. Bob Beasley and Bob Muir share one of the 9 Charger entries. The only full-time professional in the race, Alan Moffat, with Ford marketing director Keith Horner. Bob Morris drives one of the 13 Falcons. Harry Firth masterminding the Holden dealer team. 1969 co-winner Colin Bond and David Mackay. In with a strong chance is Des West. Tension approaches its peak. In a few seconds, the 60 starters will be on their way. Those at the rear of the field battle for positions in the charge to Hardy for Rodo corner. Moffat powers up Mountain Straight, already out on his own. So solid is the pace, the field is fairly well spread out midway through the opening lap. Moffat is pursued by French and Mackay, who's improved 1 place on his grid position. In fact, the first 8 in the early stages are all Falcons. Unleashing its newly developed power, Moffat accelerates the GTHO to something around 140 miles per hour down Conrod. French also has his foot down. Into pit straight, and Moffat sets about dictating the pattern of the race. Driving at a speed to suit himself, Moffat is able to conserve his car, which is responding to every demand. But with the race not yet 5 laps old, the Holden dealer works car of Colin Bond is the first of the fancied entries to strike trouble. Team manager Harry Firth makes some pertinent comments.
Bondi got a whack from Bartlett, which shoved him into the curve, and the tyre got whacked on the curve, and we had to change it. But nearly a lap off, a fair bit of time, which we didn't wish to lose.
So it was that the first pit stop of the race was made by Bond's Tirana, a lap lost that'll take some making up. The Falcons increase their margin over the smaller cars, who, whilst having a cornering advantage, are outsped on the straights. There's been a few bumps around the circuit to the consternation of Chrysler's racing manager John Ellis.
We've had a couple of instances of bad luck with a car crashing up the top with one of the private entries, Tom Norton, but generally they've held together very well, I think.
A straying cardboard carton attaches itself firmly to Moffat's radiator, which is certain to cause apprehension in the Ford pit. Marsden talks of taking immediate action.
Yes, it's surprising what can happen in motor racing. The best prepared cars can pick up a cardboard box. So we're just looking at it now. We'll possibly pull him in very quickly, pull it off and get him straight out again.
Ignoring the pit signal, Moffat stays out on the track, and Marsden approves of his action.
We offered him the opportunity to come in, but he was so happy that he almost jumped out of the car and told us that he wasn't coming in. His car is running perfectly, and he's a very happy person at this stage.
Performing reliably, the Chargers face formidable class opposition from the Tirana XU1s, 13 of which are in the field. Running in 4th place in the John Newell entry is Bill Brown. At McPhillamy Park, a burst tyre on Brown's car causes the most horrifying crash ever witnessed at Bathurst. Bill tells how it happened.
As I come over the blind approach to McPhillamy Park corner and at speed in excess of 100 miles an hour, a tyre burst on the car, causing it to veer straight ahead into the bank. And I was a bit worried, for the crowd's sake, that the car would sort of jump the fence and end up in amongst the people. It was just crashing and glass breaking and banging and carrying on. When the car finally came to rest, I was still conscious, and potatoes ran over and they started to tip the car up. I yelled out to them to stop, smelled petrol, and I asked if anyone's smoking, would they kindly leave. By this time the crash truck had arrived and I knew everything was all right. Myself, I felt one of my legs was caught. I didn't know what was going on there because at the time the back of the seat had broken and I was laying down flat in the car, luckily for me. And I suppose I was in there for 5 or 6 minutes and they finally got me out. I had a look at the car and then I went to Bathurst Hospital.
Fortunately, Brown's injuries were only of a minor nature. At Forest Elbow, Leo Gagan and Doug Whitefoot brush with spectacular results.
We have a time at about 1 minute 50, and for that we have put on at least 30 gallons of fuel and done 4 complete tyres. He's a very happy man. Every time he comes by, the smile gets bigger.
Timekeeping for Moffat is his wife Pauline, who nowadays regularly carries out this task. Consolidating his grip on the Classic, Moffat has his rivals struggling to keep within range. Having helped in the production of the Chargers, Leo Gagan's knowledge of their capabilities is invaluable. He hands over to co-driver Peter Brown during the second pit stop. '68 winner Bruce McPhee. A gratified Firth as Bond and Brock now lead their class. But Bill Stanley is really pushing. Now in control, Moffat's averaging around 249. There's some close calls for those pressing a little too hard. Moffat has an advantage of almost 2 laps and, barring misfortune, is assured of victory. Barnes and Skelton have taken over second place and Mackay is close behind. His concentration inflexible, Moffat is in no danger of becoming complacent. Bond is now 4th behind the Falcons of Skelton and Mackay, running 2nd and 3rd respectively, but they're all too far back to threaten Moffat. On Conrod, in the last of the 130 laps, Moffat is a happy man as he approaches Murray's Corner.
After 500 miles, I can assure you this is the happiest turn a driver can make, is this left-hander onto the straight, waiting for the jubilation of his pit crew to give him the wave finishing the race.
Moffat's nearest opponent is over a lap behind, and his overall time of 6 hours, 9 minutes, 49.5 seconds betters the previous record by over 20 minutes.